Hello, my name is Jennings Magawa, and I will be taking you through my project for my Urban Research Studio presentation assignment, and I'll just get right to it. So, coming off the last assignment, I established Villa Comunale as a potential site to be regenerated. I selected Anton Don's project aquarium as a building that was decaying and needed to be regenerated. And upon further analysis of the site, it revealed a second potential building that could be regenerated alongside the aquarium, and this building was the Casino Pompano, which shares a similar story of decay to the Anton Don Aquarium. So, just a brief history on the park. It was initially a woodland area for the royal family and it was very privatized. It would be open once a year to the public during the festival of the Pied di Grotta. In 1869, the park then opened its doors to the public, and this is when Anton Don, who was a marine biologist at the time, proposed his idea of an aquarium after his travels throughout Europe. The royal family then granted him the site free of charge, allowing him to open what would then be one of the most recognizable, influential, and iconic aquariums throughout all of Europe during its prime. The aquarium's construction then commenced in 1872. The sea initially washed up right to the doorstep of the original building, but then the land was then reclaimed to give way for the Via Francesco Caracciolo, a highway that was passing through the park. So a second building was then later added to the main aquarium building and connected through a bridge. And just referencing this act of paying homage to Naples' history through layering of buildings rather than destroying them is what helped to make this space so iconic. It was basically following the tradition of what the city had been doing for so long. And 50 years later down the line, the bridge that connected the two buildings was then readapted into a library that Anton intended to be used as a base through which scientists from across the world would visit the site and benefit through the information through it, and in the end, establishing a network through which they were all connected to. He then requested donations from his established friends such as Darwin, Huxley, and Virchow, and at the end, the facility then became an invaluable resource for bibliographical collections, and many scientists from all over the world traveled to the site solely for the research material that was stored within it. And later on, future plans were then drawn out, and these included additional library spaces, new laboratory spaces, and spaces to present Darwinian artwork, and artwork that Darwin and Anton had collected from multiple and various artists, including Hans von Maris, who did artwork illustrations on Naples fishing culture. Building on the site is the Casino Pompana. This is the second site that I'm proposing a regeneration and connecting it to the old aquarium. And just a little information about it is, it's an old neglected venue that currently holds cultural events and art exhibits. It permanently holds the artworks from the Pompeii era, and it houses the archives of the Parthenopean song. And just a brief relook on the theorists that have inspired this vision is one of my theorists was Walter Benjamin and his statements on memorable value of a site and its relation to time. So he stated that speciality as not being the only central element when considering an urban space, and that time is what really activated it. I consider the fact that the park had such great history attached to it, together with the existing architecture that told a story, as a narrative of luxury which emerged through all these concepts. Aldo Rossi also agreed with this concept when he stated that the city is in its own right a collection of its people's memories, and that a continuation of these memories is what activated the spaces. The project would then consider the history of the site during the allocation of the spatial functionalities applied. Quick overview on my panel. So the first panel is looking at infrastructure through Naples and how the city intends to increase connectivity throughout the city, and what the panel shows is the map of Naples on the top, subterranean ground in the middle, and a rough sketch of Naples in a 3D form, a 3D perspective, to give a better understanding of what's happening in the space. And what is happening is there's two rail lines crossing the subterranean layer, representing the ideology of making sure that the city is more connected. And the idea of it going through the subterranean layer is highlighting that connectivity is further enhanced by underground tunnels throughout the city. For my second panel, I was looking at factors that affect pedestrian access into the park, and what this revealed is vehicular movement of cars is something that prevented pedestrians from easily accessing the site, and they were only limited to using pedestrian crossings that were found at limited points throughout the Riviera di Chiaia Road. And following the next panel, I discovered that if I could connect other parts of Naples to the park through the underground spaces, I would be taking advantage of the subterranean level to further enhance the connectivity throughout the city. So what this panel shows is how functionality is distributed within the old aquarium building and how it is planned to be regenerated. So what I did is I added a viewing platform on the roof of the building through which they have like windows through where visitors to the site can actually look out to see, with the hopes of trying to connect them back to Naples as a harbor city. And the building is then connected to underground tunnels where they will see an increase in aquarium tank spaces. This means more species of fish can be carried on the site. It means more spaces for study, more spaces for observational purposes, and it would allow for more visitors to be in the same place at a particular time. And if you look to the very right, I have an additional building to the side, and this sort of like cantilevers off, it sort of like rises off the ground, which would allow for more playground spaces, which I will show in the very last panel. And underneath this new additional building on site is the biggest aquarium that was inspired by the Georgia Aquarium, and I even included an underwater aquarium an underwater restaurant just to increase the mystique of the site. What is happening in this panel is how it just shows the spatial location of how I do intend to regenerate the Casina Pompena on the site. So that would be the building in the middle of the park that has the tunnel going down with the spiral staircase leading into the dome-shaped area. So what that is increased museum space that would allow them to showcase more of the artworks collected from the Pompeii era. And this would allow for bigger spaces for social gatherings, for cultural events. And the space is advantageous in the sense that it is connected to the main aquarium. So this would lead a continuous trail into the other aquarium spaces. And on the other side, it is then connected to the other side of the street through the subterranean layer. And what this does is it cuts the pedestrian hassle of crossing through the Riviera di Chiaia on the surface, short by giving them a shortcut through the subterranean layer, thus avoiding having to cut through traffic. This prevents destruction of cars moving on the Riviera Chiaia road, and it just makes it an overall easier experience for them. And this tunnel then connects to other tunnels linking through the other parts of Naples, so there's a continuity in how people move through the tunnels through Naples, and it sort of references Anton Don's ideology of wanting more connectivity through Naples and the rest of the world. And at the very bottom of the tunnel connections, there's one of the domes has a large group of people walking through, so that would be a proposed pathway that would then connect to the San Pasquale train station, which would be the future proposed train stop that the city is proposing, after which the train line passes through the under subterranean layer of the park, and the empty dome is representing the pathway that the train would then take before it gets to its final stop at the San Pasquale train stop. The panel shows the spaces that are going to be regenerated on the site, and the color in yellow represents what is going to be regenerated, what is going to be made new again, versus the dark area, and the uncolored area represents what is going to stay the same. So in the first picture, we have the roof space that I'm proposing on the Acquario di Napoli, where people will be able to look out to the sea, and it shows how it's connected to the subterranean layer. And in the second picture, it shows the new aquarium space connecting to the old Casina Pompena, and how throughout the rest of the site, which is the adjacent side of the Riviera di Chiaia, how the underground spaces are linked. And so finally, the last panel showcases on the very top right, that is Sir Anton Don looking out to the rest of the panel, where they have the yellow train that is representative of the new train and the train system that the city is proposing to go through the park, connecting it to San Pasquale and the rest of the city. To the bottom right, you have this triangular space representing additional space to the playground, but the thing is that it cantilevers on top of the new proposed aquarium space. So it has two large triangular openings that is going to allow light to go through into the aquarium space, thus helping plankton to be provided for the fish within the aquarium. To the top left corner, you have a diagram of the abduction of Europa. So this is representative of one of the monuments found on the site. So this is just to emphasize that the site has enough monumental value to attract people to come and look at some of the works done by past artists in the city. On the very left, you have this glass sort of fixture with a spiral staircase. So this is sort of representing the tunnel that goes down from the new proposed Casino Pompena into the underground subterranean layer. And that was my project. I hope you all enjoyed it, and thank you for paying attention. Thank you.